With us tonight is somebody who was part of our brightest ever days in the Football League and was part of the management team in 2008 who gave us our first ever victory at Wembley. It's Friday night, we're back at Notion. This is the Stockport County Shirt Collection. Will you please welcome Peter Ward?
Hello, Ben. I'm good, sir. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Come on, Dave. Come on. Yeah. I'm used to getting booed. Well, thank you. I feel comfortable now.
Peter, how are you?
I'm very good, Ben. How are
Excellent. Yeah, good to have you here. Thank you for coming. What we've got here is a pretty comprehensive collection of shirts from your career as a player, but also as part of the management team. We're going to run through some of these, get some stories off you, and some of the insight, what it was like to be part of County and of the clubs you were at. So we'll take it straight back to the mid-80s, back in the northeast at Newcastle, and I believe a gentleman called Jack Charlton comes knocking for you. I'll let you pick up the story.
He did come knocking for us. We're playing Bedlington Terriers away, Tuesday night, pissing down the rain, freezing cold. Big Jack turns up. He's only been to see his mum, Sissy, in Ashington. It's only around the corner of Bedlington, so he turns up. I'm having a good game, 2 goals, first half. He comes down to the dugout, he says to the manager, number 9, can he come in? Monday morning, Benwell Training Ground, Newcastle, he's on trial. So I went in on Monday, starts training, Tuesday night, playing the reserves, I score 1 to goal, left peg, volley, top corner, St James's Park.
Classic Wardy.
Classic me.
Yeah.
And back in training the next day. Next week I'm back in on trial again. I score against Sheffield United. This time at the Gallagher end, right foot. So they signed us till the end of the season. And it's just one thing. I was at non-league football, 20 years old, Newcastle United, brilliant.
Yeah. So and there's some back then, mid-80s, Newcastle, we're a big club, still a big club, and there were some right players there at the time, wasn't there?
Well, it was funny because I'm a Sunderland fan really, and went to Newcastle and my dad was furious, and he said, how can you let that shirt touch your skin? He says, you're going to come out in blotches. I said, I'll be all right, Dad, don't worry. So I turned up and first day of training, I'm in the gym, Chrissy Waddle walks in, Peter Beardsley, and he said, fancy a game of head tennis? Well, dear me, I nearly wet myself. Yeah. Unbelievable, like Chrissy Waddle, just down to earth guy, and so I've gone from being a roof tiler to training with Chrissy Waddle, Beardsley, Glenn Roder, Gary Megson.
Yeah. Was Gazza there?
He was, but he was in the youth team, yeah. Gazza was in the youth team then, but he was just starting to come into the reserve, so he was sort of like just making a name for himself.
And could you spot what Gazza was all about back then?
All the time, yeah, because he used to turn up for training, and one day I turned up for training and it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, because I was getting in early. I went to the cupboard to get my kit out, opened the cupboard, and he jumps out. I said, what time did you come in? He says, oh, I always leave the window open. He says, because I came in at 6 o'clock this morning, he climbed to the window, and he used to hide in the kit, and when everybody opened up, he used to jump out. You were mad.
A couple of years later, you find yourself a little bit further south in West Yorkshire with Huddersfield Town. And how about that for a shirt?
Yeah, hey.
And
I'm the only person that looked good on.
I don't want to rake up old memories, but there's only one game we can really talk about in that shirt.
I knew you were going to say this.
We don't really say their name lightly in here, but a team who used to play at Main Road, they beat Huddersfield 10-1, didn't they?
Well, I must admit, I wasn't playing, I was sub, so there's no guilt on me. But yeah, we started off with the game playing City at Main Road, and we're playing in this horrible strip, new strip, and playing, and I'm on the bench, and a certain fella called Willie McStay, remember him? Willie McStay came on with Dieter. Yeah. Well, I was good friends with Willie, and Willie's like the most mild-mannered, nice fella ever. But when he got aggressive, he's a typical Scotsman, he got aggressive. Warming up and saying, City scored after 20 minutes, 1-0 down. And that woman started ringing the bell. So run up and down, warming up. 2-0, 3-0, she's ringing the bell, 4-0, 5-0, ringing the bell, it's getting louder and louder. 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, bells going like mad. So I get back to the dugout, Willie comes running down, he's dying to get on, Willie, he wants a bit of the action like. And she rings the bell again, and he turns around and he shouts, "Hey, Quasimodo, if you don't stop ringing that bell, I'm going to stick it up your ass." All of a sudden, from nowhere, 20, 30 City fans come running to the fence, and I thought, "Fuck me, I'm going here." I went straight in the dugout, put the blanket round us, and sat there all game. I thought, I'm not having any of that.
So then, after Huddersfield, that is a pretty spectacular shirt. Then move a little bit closer to Stockport again, and we're in Lancashire, North Manchester with Rochdale for a couple of seasons. How did that move come about, and what are your memories of Rochdale, apart from the cup run? We'll come to that.
Yeah, well, Rochdale was I got a free transfer from Huddersfield, and when I was leaving Huddersfield, one of the staff had said to us, "Free transfer award," he said, "just remember 2 years ago," he said, "Liverpool and Everton wanted you to train down there, Melwood and that." But I never knew anything about it. They wouldn't tell you things like that. So it wasn't until I left on a free transfer that I found out that Liverpool had asked us to go on trial and Everton at the same time. So I never knew about that until I left on a free transfer.
And then, obviously, while you were there, Rochdale have their best ever cup run, 5th round of the FA Cup, and ultimately play away at Crystal Palace, lose 1-0. Palace go on to the final and play United. And there were some players in that Palace team, wasn't there?
There was, yeah. In their team, Mark Bright, Ian Wright, Pardew, Jeff Thomas, Andy Thorne, in goal was Nigel Martin. So we went down there, we thought we were going to get battered here, but our keeper Keith Welch had the best game ever. The score was 1-0, we went into half time, and the manager, Terry Dolan, said, "Stick at it, lads, keep at it." He said, "We're going to get a chance, we've got to take it." We get 1 minute to go, 89 minutes, I could see the clock behind the goal. Corner, comes from the left, in swinger, gets headed out, we recycle it, put it back in. Willie Burns heads it down, penalty spot, and I'm running in on my left peg. And I hit it as sweet as a nut, like an exocet, flying. Hits Nigel Martin straight in the face. If I'd miskicked it, it would have went in because there was nobody there, it was only him, and I hit it sweet as a nut, and then the whistle goes and we're off. And we thought, it's my fault that we're out. So I'm sat in the change room, the chairman comes in, Mr. Kilpatrick, comes in, "Well done, lads, well done, very good effort. Keith Welsh, what a performance, what a great goalkeeper." And he turns to me and he goes, "Wardy, you've just cost me 120 grand. He says, "Replay and a television." And then he went.
So while you've been at Rochdale, there's Stockport County are on the rise. Obviously, the man from Uruguay, Danny Bergara's arrived. We've had our first promotion out of the 4th tier into the 3rd tier. Danny comes knocking for you, and you find yourself at Edgeley Park for the start of the 91-92 season. How did that move come about, and your first impressions of Danny at County?
Well, there was a lot of interest in us when I was at Rochdale, and Danny acted quick because he knew a lot of people that had no money. So I'm in my digs and I'm packing up and I think I'm going home for the summer and just waiting to see what happens. I get a phone call off the secretary and he says, "Peter," he says, "we just agreed a fee with Stockport County. You've got to go and see Danny Bergara at Edgeley Park." And I'm in Littleborough in my digs, and I'm sending the manager around, Dave Sutton. He's going to pick you up and drive you over. So Sutton drives us over, and I get to Edgeley Park, and Edgeley Park, players' entrance, that's where the office was. So I knocks on the big door. Ginger Joanne comes out. She says, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm Pete Ward, I'm here to see Danny Bergara." "Oh," she said, come in, we're expecting you." She was very nice to us then. She must have thought I was some thug from Edgeley. And so goes in, and I'm standing there, and Bish, the kit man, comes running on, hear these keys all jangling, and Bish is red in the face. "Where's the gaffer?" "I don't know where the gaffer is, He says, "I'll find them though." He said, he says, "Go and have a look at the pitch." He says, "We just had it reseeded, it looks lovely." So I walked out with Dave Sutton, and I could see the dugout, and I see this man lying on the dugout with an air rifle. And he takes aim and goes, "Fucking hell, I missed again, twat." He jumps off the dugout, he turns around, he goes, "Hello, Wardy, I'm Danny Bergara, pleased to meet you." And that was my first ever meeting with Danny. I'd spoken to him on the phone, that was my first ever meeting.
So the start of 91-92, you make your debut for County, 5-0 win against Swansea at Edgeley Park, wearing these Cobra Lager shirts.
Cobra Lager? Was it Cobra Lager then? Cobra Lager.
You didn't have much luck with kits early on in your career, did you?
Oh, shocking. Shocking.
No. What's your favourite out of these two?
Well, it's got to be the blue one, that yellow one's shocking, isn't it?
At the end of the season, we placed Stoke in the playoff semi-finals.
Yeah.
Obviously one of your famous free kicks, arguably your most famous goal for County. And there's an interview with you at the end of the game when Danny's you say that Danny's kept you out on the pitch because you need to practice. You can't kick, I believe.
He told us, yeah. Danny said to us, he said, you're not kicking the ball right, Waddy. He said, I'll show you. So he used to take us out, but what we used to do in them days, we used to go back to the ground to practice free kicks and penalties. So Danny came out and he got some white paint off the groundsman, line. So he come out, he put the ball down, and he drew a right angle. And then he said, right, you stand there, foot, so I stood there. And then he says, no, there. And he painted over me boots. And he said, step back. So I stepped back, he says, right, one to the left. So I went one to the left, he says, now. He said, don't look at the goal, just clip it. Clip. so I clipped it and go straight in over the plastic men, straight in the top corner. He says, see, told you. You stay out 10 minutes in practice, I'm going for a cup of tea.
So did that Stoke game carry a bit more weight than if you were playing Plymouth or Shrewsbury or something?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like, because I think it was on the terraces as well. There was a tension in the game. You knew when you were playing against them, and we used to beat them, and we used to love that. Beating them, banging on the changing room door and everything. Behind Big Kev. Yeah.
So we do beat them and we go through to our first, the playoff final against Peterborough, but Stoke do get their revenge in the Football League Trophy final at Wembley, don't they?
Well, everybody keeps asking about the Wembley appearances, but to me they're just a blur. I just can't recall them. Like, I was that crap in the first game against Peterborough that I think I've forgotten it. I've erased it. And like Danny was over the moon. He said, I'm going to the Cathedral of Football. He used to call Wembley the Cathedral of Football. All I remember is the fans and Danny O'Gara's Blue and White Army, going on for hours and hours and, 90 minutes.
And does that lift you on the pitch?
Yeah.
Does it make a difference?
Well, you can hear it, yeah. You can hear it, Yeah.
So we lose against Stoke, and then a week later we go down and we play Peterborough. That's Andy Priest's shirt. Yeah. You start the game, Wheeler comes on to replace you, and we kind of lose that in the worst way to lose a game, really, don't we?
Yeah.
Big Kev equalises, and then 90 seconds later we concede again.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we got caught short there. I think we were still celebrating when we scored, because Kevin made a beeline for the County fans, and we were still celebrating. We just didn't get right, and obviously they scored and we just couldn't get it back. And
Ken Charlery later got promoted with County.
Yeah, Ken Charlery.
Some say you're still in the corner at Chesterfield holding the ball up.
Oh well, dear me.
Yeah.
He might have been holding the ball up across the line because it never crossed the line the first one.
Well,
that's what I say. I was on the line because I was on the corners and I was in the front post, and once it went over my head I had to go back on the back post, and when that ball bounced down, that did not cross the line, and I swear to this day.
Right.
So we were robbed.
Yeah, and speaking of Wembley and being robbed, we'll come to 94 in a little bit. How tough is it to get over losing at Wembley twice in a week?
I don't know. I think we were so focused and determined that it didn't really affect us. After about a week, I came back into the club and started doing some gym work and that, and there was about 5-6 players already in. We were a good team, good changing room. It was the best changing room I ever played in. I mean, they were mad, they were funny. It was like every day. I couldn't wait to get in because we used to have a laugh every day, and you could rely on them on the pitch, if you were having a bad time, somebody would dig you out,
So, following season, start of 92-93, and as they say, we go again in the third tier. We've lost Cobra Lager, we've got Robinson's for the first time. It's one of Toddy's shirts.
Is it Toddy or Lionel? Toddy's.
Well, big for Toddy, that, isn't it, you'd think?
Well, they were all big. There was only one size at County, Every time we got a new strip, as long as it fit Big Kev, we'd have them all. So it didn't matter what size you were. Toddy used to play, he used to have a blue strip on, short sleeves, it used to be over his arms. He used to be coming out the bottom of his shorts. That was us, but it didn't bother us as players. Everybody else had nice kits and we had shit kit.
So with Toddy, his name's come up a lot. You know, he's well known as a big character back then. He's known as an arguably even bigger character now. How good was How good a footballer was he?
He was brilliant, Toddy. I think, you know, it used to frustrate us so much, Toddy, because he'd be at the far post and somebody'd cross it in and he chested back the keeper. I said, "You stop doing that, you little twat, stop doing that." He said, "Why?" He says, "I'm good at it." And he was good. As soon as he come over, he used to be there, back post, chested back the keeper and jog out.
October '92, and this is one for the shirt purists. We go to Brighton and we lose 2-0 at the Goldstone.
2-0.
We can't wear our home shirt. We can't wear our away shirt. We can't even wear this shirt, which we wore the previous season. We recycled a couple of times.
Yeah.
We wear this for the only ever time in a 2-0 defeat. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I think everybody was disgusted because it's red. Yeah. Why are we wearing red? Because of them down the road.
Yeah.
We didn't want to wear it. That's why we played crap and got beat 2-0.
There we go.
I think we impersonated Man United.
Towards the end of that season, we played Wigan in the Football League Trophy semi-final. Bottom corner of the main stand in the Cheadle end. Peter Ward free kick comes in, bounces back out, arrives to you, edge of the penalty area, and you dink it back in. Kevin Francis scores out to send us to Wembley.
Yeah.
Brilliant memories. One of your best goals?
One of the best goals at Edgeley, yeah.
Yeah.
It was because it was such a tight game, and you know we had to score early, and we got the free kick, and I think it got blocked and Kev got a torn and it came back to us.
Yeah.
I'd see the keeper off the line because he'd come to challenge big Kev, so I just thought, little dink over the top. There it was. The one was out, chipped it.
Yeah.
So
brilliant.
Excellent goal. One of my favourite goals because it just seemed to happen in slow motion, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Once I'd hit it, it just took ages for it to go in the net, but I knew it was going in. That's the fastest I've ever run.
Yeah.
Have you seen the celebration from that? That's the fastest I've ever run. I tell you what, I'm going to get the clock out next time and see how fast I was to the halfway line.
So we beat Wigan. We're back at Wembley for a third time. We play Port Vale in this pretty fruity number. The only time we ever wear this shirt again. This one came from Jimmy Carstairs, but was Michael Wallace's.
Yeah.
Third time at Wembley, third defeat. How did that feel?
Pretty hard to describe, really, because you go there thinking that it's our turn this time, and again, it wasn't just couldn't do it. It was a bit of a hoodoo on us, no problem getting there, just couldn't play when we got there,
How big a deal was a competition like the Autoglass Trophy?
Well, it wasn't. It's not until you get to the later stages and the crowds pick up and you thought, well, hey, we're only 2 games from Wembley here, that you start realising that how important it is to the club and that, and then how important it is to your career.
Same with the fans, generally.
Yeah. And then when we start getting to the semi-finals and you think, bloody hell, we're only 1 step from Wembley here, it'd be great to play there again.
So then that takes us into 93-94. This shirt becomes famous across the country in the FA Cup. We play a very good and very well-placed Premier League team, QPR, and we beat them 2-1 at Edgeley Park. What are your memories of that game and that weekend? Because it was massive for Stockport.
It was building up all week. Cause the Premiership team, they were high up. Les Ferdinand, Peacock, Simon Barker, Ray Wilkins, Andrew Impey, Sinclair, Bardsley, and I thought, bloody hell, these are well-known players. We're up against it here, so. I remember turning up for the day of the game, and we had to be in early because we were expecting a big good crowd, so come in early, make sure nobody's late. So we turned up, it's 1 o'clock, and Sainty always used to come down before Danny came in just to check everybody was there. So he's going around, he's checking, he said, where's Rhino? Don't know. Anybody seen Rhino? Darren Ryan, nobody's seen him. So goes down to the physio's room, Roger, have you seen Darren Ryan? He said, no. He's like, where's his digs? Oh, he's at Shore Heath with Betty Fish. So he said, somebody ring his digs, see where he's at. So they ring his digs and it's ringing out. So Gaffer comes in, he says, Bish, you go round there, Betty's, see where his Rhino is. So Bish goes round his car and he comes back, he says, Gaffer, he said, Rhino's not going to be fit. He said, he's got food poisoning. He, what? He said he's got food poisoning. So reshuffle the team. Danny's furious. We're all there. It's like an hour before kick-off. He's renamed the team. Rhino was playing, but he's not playing now, so he shuffled the team, made a couple of changes. So he goes back down. I think he'd gone for a couple of whiskies to settle his nerves. He comes up 20 minutes before the game, gets his board, bangs it on the table, and he says, right, everybody listen to me. He says, on a Friday night, if you're hungry, you do not go down the A6 and have a Chinkies or a Indians. You don't have any of that foreign shit. If you're hungry, have a kebab. Then the buzzer goes and we're running out and we're all, match of the day, running out with the ball, laughing and think what he said.
Brilliant. So, end of that season, again, we're back at Wembley for the 4th time. We set a little bit of history that day. Does anyone know what that bit of history is? First team to have 2 players sent off in a Wembley final. Chris Beaumont, number 10, and Michael Wallace, number 3.
Yeah.
David Ellery, of course, our friend David Ellery.
Yeah. Twice he's done us.
Talk about David Ellery, talk about that game.
Well, I'd rather not talk about David Ellery, but the game itself, like, we'd beaten Burnley twice, home and away, and we thought, we had enough to beat them, like, in the team, like, but a moment of madness. And I mean, Chrissy Beaumont, dear me, he never kicked anybody, did he? Bloody hell. He wouldn't even kick a fly. He was one of them players. He was just so honest and genuine. He would never do anything like that. And to say that he stamped on him,
yeah.
I don't know whether he did, like, but you know what? I saw him the other week and I didn't even ask him if he did stamp on him. But to me, like, that's totally out of character for Chrissy, yeah. Like, And once you're down to 10 men at Wembley, and it's hot, and the pitch is big, and you're covering more and more ground, and you're getting tired, and we start to lose a bit of momentum, and they start to get on top a bit, and eventually they get a goal and they equalise, and then Mickey Wallace, a moment of madness, and he's off, and we're down to 9 men at Wembley, but we stuck at it, like, I mean, we got beat 2-1 in the end, but it was such an effort from the 9 players that were on there that you were doing, like, the job for yourself and half the job for the team. We were trying our best, like, to keep in it, but yeah. and we were in it all the time, and we had a couple of chances, but we just didn't seem to be able to convert them,
End of 94-95, it becomes the end of your career at County,
yep.
But it's also the end of Danny's, and you move over the border to our friends in North Wales, Wrexham.
Yep.
How did that move come about?
Well, it was just, I was out of contract and I was sick of haggling for a £25 rise. No agents in them days, remember? We had nothing. We just get a £5 rise and you had to sign your contract. So early on in the season, Burnley had come in for us and Danny had banned us from the training ground, so I had to train on my own. I had to do
because Burnley were after you?
Burnley had inquired about us, so yeah. Danny thought I'd been speaking to Jimmy Mullen behind his back, so he banned us from the training ground. So for a week I had to train on my own, doing the Adswood run. You ran quick when you went through Adswood. or what we call the farmers, where you run down Hollywood Park and up the farmers and come back in. So I was doing that on my own. I had to train on my own. I wasn't allowed to mix with the lads. I was in another changing room. I hadn't done anything wrong. I didn't even know Burnley were interested because nobody had agents then, so I didn't even know they were interested. But apparently Jimmy Mullen had rang up and they wanted to sign us, and Danny said he's not having them. So
you ended up at Wrexham?
Ended up at Wrexham. At the end of the season, I ended up at Wrexham. Basically, Brian Flynn had rang us as soon as the season had finished and said, like, do you fancy coming over to Wrexham? So I went to meet him in Manchester at the hotel, and I quite liked little Flynn. He was a good fella, like, and I really liked him. He said, look, he said, I've got 2 cracking midfielders. He said, Brian Hughes, Dave Bram. He said, they're 18, 19. He said, I want you to come in and just play. He said, they'll learn more for you in training and what they will do me coaching them. He said, so, they're not ready to come in yet, but they will be. But train with you, they'll come on, and they did really well, both of them. And so I said, all right, I fancied it, like, so I just signed, like, there was a bit of interest from a number of clubs, but it was good. I liked the way he talked, and I thought it was a good move for us,
96-97, we obviously have a well-documented cup run. We get to the semi-finals of the League Cup. Wrexham have a decent cup run themselves, and there's snow on the pitch. There's just the lines in the penalty areas marked out. Orange football, which you don't get anymore. Wrexham go a goal up, and then Hugo Porfirio with Similar to your goal against Wigan in the Football League trophy,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not quite as good.
Not quite
Not
as good,
quite as
yeah,
good.
yeah. But
Had you spoke to anyone at County about what West Ham are all about?
no, I hadn't. No, at the time, no.
They didn't like me anymore, did they?
No, they hated us, yeah. So, no, I didn't speak to anybody. I did just we were just taking what the manager said, and we went down there, and we took a real good following as well. We filled that in. It was a brilliant game, and Kev Russell scores a worldie, and we beat them 1-0. Right,
Yeah.
you know?
The following season, Wrexham miss out on the playoffs on goal difference. Fulham finishing ahead of them. Other than a very brief spell at Morecambe, that kind of draws to the end of your playing career. Hugely successful career. Across Huddersfield, Newcastle, Rochdale, hopefully most Wembley County and Wrexham. What's your highlights as a player?
Highlights as a player, dear me. You know what? I'm getting that old that I'm forgetting everything, but just getting to Wembley for the first time with County, and then doing it again the week after. It doesn't get any better than that, does it? But then to lose, so you're up there and down there in a week, it's just surreal, and it just the game against QPR, the build up to the game and all that, and to beat a good Premiership team at Edgeley and all the fans on the pitch, it's just they're the sort of things that you remember more than anything,
Boxing Day 2005, we go to the Moss Rose at Macclesfield and we do the unthinkable and we lose 6-0. We're bottom of the Football League, 92 out of 92. We've got 17 points. Chris Turner goes. He was replaced by Jim Gannon. Initially... There'll be plenty of time for that later. Initially, Chris Turner was replaced by Jim on an interim basis. So a couple of weeks later, we play Cheltenham at home. It's Jim's first game as manager. It's at Edgeley Park. And there is a lad on the bench for us who's a new name for us. He's never played for County before, and probably not many people in the ground had ever heard for him. Probably the only decent thing Turner did for us was bring in this guy from Woodley Sports for about £2,000. And this guy was Liam Dickinson. This is the actual shirt Dicko wore on his debut against Cheltenham. He scored at the Cheadle End. Only scored at County. Sort of did a cartwheel ahead. What was it? A back flip? What was it?
All of them.
Yeah, all of those.
Triple Salco.
Yeah. We draw 2-2. It's a big result. And almost overnight, the mood around the club was transformed. Some of the players move on. We see Jason Taylor, Adam Griffin, the likes of Dave Baharrell come into the team. People who see us into a position where we go into the final day of the season against Carlisle with it in our hands. What was that like for you, Peter? You'd come in, Jim as manager, you've taken on the position of assistant. How much of a change for you was that, and what was the mood like at County in that period?
Well, we were on and up now because we'd picked up a couple of good results, so everybody was at it, the lads were really putting it out, and it's one of them things. Is somebody asked me how did you stay up? I said 2 reasons: Liam Dickinson, Jim Gannon. Liam Dickinson scored the important goals. Jim Gannon did all the organising. The lads knew what they had to do against the opposition. What's
the expectation at the end of that season, or over the pre-season going into 06-07, about what we could achieve, with a full pre-season and yourself and Jim running things properly?
We knew we had a big job on our hand, and as soon as the season finished that day, we were in the next day. We'd already made plans staying up that what we were going to do. Jim had drawn up a blueprint and how we wanted the club run and everything.
Did you ever consider you were going down?
No, never. Never even thought for one moment that season that we were going to go down. Right. Just didn't even think that way. It was just felt that the lads had enough about them to stay up, and with Jim's organisation and planning, and I thought we've got a great chance here, I said, and never even thought about going down. But I said there's some scary moments. Don't worry about that. There was some really scary moments, but we got through it, and we never looked back after that.
That's it. So the start of 06-07, we play a newly promoted team from the conference in our first game. We lose 2-0 at home to Hereford. Not the ideal start. And the early part of the season is probably inconsistent. You know, and we pick up a little bit before Christmas, and we start to say, you know, Adam Proudlock comes on board. And we'll come to Adam Proudlock, and I'm sure we could talk about Adam Proudlock all night.
Somebody like that.
We'll talk about Adam Proudlock. He's got his own section. But
He's been sectioned.
Just after Christmas, we make a signing, and it's this guy, Anthony Elding, comes on board from Boston. It's his first game for us is against Boston, and we don't know it at the time, but that 2-0 win against Boston sets in motion a little piece of Football League history where we go on and win 9 games in a row without conceding. The first ever Football League team to do that, and something no other Football League team has ever done since. How did that happen?
Just happened. Just happened.
And at what point do you start thinking,
you don't think about
this?
things like that. We were conscious. We didn't like giving no free kicks away. Don't let them put balls in the box. Keep a clean sheet. We've got a goal in us. We'll always score. But Eldon we had Glenn Murray on loan from Carlisle. Glenn Murray went on to play for, you know, he's doing the television now and everything, isn't he? Yeah. Glenn Murray. We used to have Glenn Murray in a circle playing keep ball, and when he left, me and Jim used to get in the middle, and they used to take the piss out of us, passing the ball around us, and Jim used to run around shouting, "Where's Glenn Murray when you need him?" Because he used to miscontrol everything. We used to pinch the ball off him. So Glenn Murray had come in on loan from Carlisle at the time, and we played Boston away. We had Glenn Murray, and they had Anthony Eldon. And I don't know how much money we had to spend, but I said, "Jim, I like Eldon." Jim said, "I was just going to say that. We like Eldon." Jim got to work. Steve Evans. Steve Evans.
Yeah.
Cash only.
Cash only. Steve Evans, cash only, 35 grand. My brother's driving them over in a taxi. Can we have the cash and you can have the player?
So 06-07, you know, we set the 9-game run.
When you get to the 7th and 8th game, you start realising that you're going to achieve something here. So you really start focusing on it, like, you know. Coaching was easy because the lads were so, like, they knew what they were doing, and like, it used to be brilliant just going out on the training ground and watching them train, like, you know. It was one of them times, like, it was a bit surreal at times. I remember we were playing a practice match once, and me, Jim and Alan were standing on the sidelines, and John Ruddy's in goal on the opposition, and Tommy Rowe's on the left wing, and the ball's come from right back to Tommy Rowe at left wing, and he's volleyed it from 35 yards straight over John Ruddy in the goal. Alan Lord drops his camera, starts running on the pitch, doing an aeroplane. And Jim goes, "What are you doing now? Fucking get off." But it was just such a joy coaching them, that, you know, every day. It was just like brilliant.
Because that's it. We talked about, we bought in Eldon, we bought in Proudlock, you know, big name players. But we also saw that graduation of young lads like Tommy Rowe, James Tunnicliffe, coming through into the team. And that, for you personally, who's been involved in the academy, that must have been pretty special and satisfying for you.
It was, because I remember first team I had Damien Allen, and he made his debut. Then we had the Le Fondre team, and then we had Rains's team, you know, and Rainsy was one of them that came out of there. And it was me and Laurie together then, like, you know, and we thought, like, you know, these kids are good, like, you know, we loved the kids, like, you know, we just, like, wanted them to do well, and we were so pleased when anybody signed them, like, you know. But when we hit on the Tommy Rose, Harry Worley, Ryan Crowell, and we thought, hey, this is a United team, 92, like, you know, we thought we've got something here that's pretty special, like, you know, and we just have to get them through, like, you know. So
that takes us to 2007, 2008. Ultimately, we go up that season. We kick off the season with a 1-0 win home to Dagenham. But in November, we're 17th in the table. We've lost to Staines Town in the FA Cup. Was promotion still on your mind at that point?
Staying in the job was on my mind at the time. No, it wasn't though, but we knew something was building at the training ground. Even though that we were 17th in the league, we'd just been beaten off Staines. But I remember I got a bollocking off Jim after the Staines game, because I took it badly, like, you know, and he got us in and he said, beat. I'm disappointed the way you reacted to the Staines defeat, like, you know, and I think, bloody hell, Jim, you're right, I was crap, you know, I was unprofessional, you know. The lads just needed picking up, like, you know, like, so what, the FA Cup, we've got bigger things now, plates to worry about, we've got the league, like, you know, but I was never worried because every time I went out and trained, I knew that they had something, like, you know, and they were getting better and better all the time, and we were growing, like, as a team, like, you know.
Yeah.
And probably the Staines defeat probably gave them a kick up the arse and, like, made them kick into gear, like, you know.
Yeah. At the end of 07-08, we go to Wembley for a 5th time, and we win. Liam Dickinson got us the 3-2 win, and you talk about, you know, the young kids coming through.
That's a treble.
It does say to. Well, you've got your shirt, haven't you?
I've got yourself a shirt. You're not wrong.
Arguably, kind of the player who epitomises the youth that coming through at County, the commitment, what it means to be Stockport County over the last 10, 15 years, is Paul Turnbull.
Yeah, we used to call him Pitbull, bully, proper character, even from the age of 14 when we first came across him. He was in the team with Ryan Crowther, Harry Worley went to Chelsea, Ryan Crowther went to Liverpool, Tommy Rowe, Gianluca Haven, James Tunnicliffe, Tansy. You know, we had a proper squad, like, you know, and Pitbull, he was always a leader. You know, he's centre forward at the time, and Jim converted him into a midfield player, but he was always one of them. You know, he just loved playing for the club, and, you know, he turned down Everton to stay at Stockport. He could have went to Everton when he was 15, and he turned them down.
So let's get to Adam Proudlock. What was that?
Legend.
Legend. We'll go with that. You know, for me, he was infuriating as good as he was talented. He was, as you know, as a total layman, as a fan, he looked to be, on his day, it's a big statement, but one of the most talented players we've ever had. But his day was once every 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, we felt the same. We liked him. He had so much talent, like, you know, and he was a great lad, you know, for all his trouble, like, you know, but we loved Proudy, like, you know, and he used to show these flashes of brilliance in training. We thought, if we could just get him right, we've got a player, like, you know, and we think he could take us to the next level as well, because he had the ability to play much higher than what he was playing, like, you know, but it never seemed to happen for him, like, you know. He was just mad, wasn't he? Just mad, and all the other kids were so focused. Tommy Rose and that, they were all focused. Tansies, everything. They were coming through, and they all had the eye on the ball, and they were at it, like, you know. And Proudy, like, you know, he was hit and miss all the time, like, you know. I would have loved to see him play consistently well for half a season, and what a player he would have been.
We had essentially a championship level team. And then the wheels begin to fall off a little bit, don't they?
We'd worked so hard. The lads were such a good team, and we thought, going down to Walsall, 5th in the league, if we win this, we're going to be 3rd in the league, game in hand, we're looking pretty good, like, you know, and we looked pretty good on the pitch, you know. And we actually lost the game 1-0. I mean, their keeper Clayton Innes, who I used to be at Wrexham with, he had a blinder. He saved everything.
Good character as well.
Oh, lovely fella, Clayton, but he wasn't that day for me anyway. but we lost 1-0. But even then, looking on the pitch, we actually thought, we're going to go all the way through here. They were that good. They were doing things like, you know, we didn't have to coach them in the end. They were coaching each other. They were doing things, you know, everything became second nature. And they would switch formation and everything during the game, sometimes 2 or 3 times, like, you know. I'm convinced that we would have went up that year. If we'd kept them all together and kept things going, we would have went up that year, and we would have went into the championship. And then they probably would have been all sold then anyway, because somebody would have come and got them, you know.
Yeah. So towards the end of that season, you know, the more established senior players have begun to move on. So we see the kids the younger players come through. We see the likes of Tom Fisher, Andy Halls, got Josh Thompson. Obviously got a great move up to Celtic. Had a decent spell up there, and we beat Crewe on the Friday night, 4-3. John Ruddy in goal for Crewe. Ollie Johnson scores the famous chip at the Cheadle end.
I mean, that pitch at the time. How somebody running at that speed can chip John Ruddy, who's 6'4", on a ploughed field at the Cheadle end, unbelievable goal. But the kid was that good.
Yeah. Did you know administration was coming?
We didn't think it was going to happen that quick, the way it happened, and how ruthless they were with it, you know, because I think we'd earned the right to see see the lads through, like, and to actually manage the team through it, like, you know.
So you presumably were called into an office, you got a phone call saying,
No.
Mr. Ward, you're no longer needed.
No, that's not the way they work. Like, I actually got sacked by telephone watching a football match. Me and Alan Lord had gone to Leeds Carnegie University. There was two semi-finals on, and there were the college teams where we're getting Pilkington from. So there was two semi-finals on. So I'll watch one game for the first half, I'll watch the other. And as we're crossing over to swap over and watch each half, I got a phone call and got sacked by Leonard Curtis.
And that was it?
That was it, yeah.
No longer needed?
No longer needed.
Gary Ablett has come in as manager. And in one respect, if you can take a positive from that season, it's the emergence of the youth players in the team. You know, we've got Greg Tansey playing a big part, you've got Paul Turnbull, Michael Raines is still with us, James Vincent comes through, Tom Fisher plays for us quite a bit that season, another lad who made his debut at 16. Were you watching us from a distance, or were you like?
Oh no, I was
Stockport
focused
County.
on it. I mean, Stour Bucharest, yeah. I was
because you were up at Motherwell.
We were
now
up at
with-
Motherwell
yeah.
at the time, yeah. We were having a great time in Europe. No, we weren't. No, we were conscious because it was happening to our club and we didn't like it, you know, what was happening, like, you know. And you talk about the young players coming through, I mean, but they were signing players that were on mega money, like, you know, the Iberian and all that. And take as much money as they can because they don't have to show anybody what they're spending and just take it all, like, you know.
The space of 12 months, we're back into League Two. But you're back at the club at this time now.
Yeah, by default, I think.
Ablett's gone and Paul Simpson's now manager.
Well, what happened was we got a phone call. The club had been taken over. They'd come out of administration, and look, I haven't got a bad word to say about the people that brought them out because they put the money where the mouth is and they brought the club out of administration. Me and Al had come back to the club believing that Jim was going to come back, and obviously it didn't work out. And me and Al were at the club. And in hindsight, when Paul Simpson took over, I should have walked away from the club and said, look, bring your own staff in. I need to walk away. You need to bring your own staff in so you can operate better. But it took that long coming out of administration. By the time we went to sign players, there was nobody left.
If there's anything to take from that season, again, it's the kind of the legacy of your time with the youth players. You look at some of the squad, we've got Andy Halls, we've got James Vincent, but if there is something and somebody who sums up what we were against that season, it's probably this guy. And ultimately that brings us to the end of our spell in the Football League, and it brings us to the end of our odyssey and our journey through your 25 years or so with Huddersfield, with Rochdale, with Newcastle, Wrexham and County. And for everyone in this room, Peter, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Enjoy. Thank you.